Hello, thank you for joining the midweek edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Ayodele Uzubakun. Today on the Hangout, in leaked letter, Kachikwu accuses NNPC GMD of $24 million contract award without due process. Diezani says she wants to face trial in Nigeria, and later in the program, court acquits 5 wrongfully substituted by police for murder. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Yemi Ajayi. So if you are ready, let the hangout start now. Now, in the last few decades, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, that's NNPC, has been described as a big animal that gives birth to corruption. But when President Muhammadu Buhari was elected, Nigerians thought that it would do a quick fix and set up the corporation on the path of modesty. Today, there are signals that the story remains the same. This week, Nigerians were shocked when a letter written by the Minister of Petroleum, Ibe Kachikwu, to President Buhari showed that the group managing director of NNPC, Maikanti Baru, has personalized the corporation and flouted every available guideline designed to regulate the corporation. Kachikwu said the NNPC's GMD illegally awarded contracts to the tune of $25 million. What is happening in NNPC? Babajide, before I ask you what is happening in NNPC, what is happening in the government of President Muhammadu Buhari? The last time we were here talking about the Minister of Aviation, we're here talking about the Minister of Transport and somebody that is meant to be supervising the aviation ministry, not in on the same page with the IGP, with the head of police service, the Mustafa Magu, and the Attorney General, and by extension DSS. In the same government, we are seeing a lot of internal contradictions.
And we are even beginning to see some of Buhari's most recognizable friends coming out to tell the world that there is rampant corruption in the administration. Buba Galadima headed Buhari's campaign in 2011. At every opportunity, he goes out to say, oh, there's so much corruption, people are looting massively. I saw Buba Galadima on Thursday in Abuja. Buba Galadima said that again. He also said that 7 local governments are still being controlled by Boko Haram. So I really do not know what is going on. You see, the contest for power, the contest for prominence ahead of 2019 is responsible for a lot of what we are seeing. Remember when a memo written by the short man, who is the governor of Kaduna State, was leaked.
Yeah.
El-Rufai himself linked it to the politics of 2019 because he accused some people who played no part in the election of Buhari of having hijacked the administration, of being responsible for appointing people and all that. And look, let us face it, when you sit down and you analyze some of the biggest positions in the administration, you see that the Northeast has benefited so tremendously.
Northeast?
Yes, the Northeast. Because even this Maikanti Baru that we are talking about is on the Northeast. Some of the earliest appointments made by Buhari, it was the Northeast taking about 2/3 of those appointments.
What's the nexus? Buhari is not from the Northeast.
Buhari is not from the Northeast, but some of the powerful people in his administration, his wife, they are from there. In fact, a friend of mine suggested that, look, in Ebira land, we have many beautiful women. Why don't we just give the president a wife so that he can pick, we can be sure that some of our people...
Kogi, you get slots.
so that more of our people can get into the administration. It's just, I'm just saying that to illustrate. Look at the first, even service chiefs. Chief of Army Staff, Northeast. Chief of Air Staff, Northeast. National Security Advisor, Northeast.
Monguno?
Yes, that's Monguno, Northeast. What's his name? Abba Kyari.
Chief of Staff.
Chief of Staff.
Yes, Chief of Staff.
The powerful
Northeast
boss.
The SGF at that time, not
Babaji Lawa.
from
up to now?
Not at that time. I'm saying at that time. You know, the first set of big appointments that the president made, I can tell you, like 7 out of 11 were from the Northeast. You know, it was at that time too that he chose the INEC chairman, also from the Northeast. That's from Bauchi State. Mekanti Baru is also from Bauchi State.
I want to talk about the NNPC now. When Ibe Kachikwu, when he was given as the Minister of State for Petroleum,
Yes.
when I saw his CV, it's something that I was so shocked, as in I was, I was intimidated by that CV. I saw his antecedent from Mobile and everything, and Buhari is saying that he's the Minister of Petroleum. So, understandably, I thought it was Kachikwu that was going to, calling the shot and everything. So, I thought Kachikwu was going to be given the opportunity to revolutionize that sector or carry out the changes that is needed in that sector. All of a sudden, it wasn't up to a year. I just hear that, oh, there's an NNPC MD. Fine, there's meant to be MD of NNPC and everything. But the MD seems to be so powerful that he has succeeded in blocking off Ibe Kachikwu.
Before Mekanti Baru was appointed, it was that kite was flown in the social media, and they put his CV and all that. When I looked at that story, some people were denying. I said, this may well happen. Because Mekanti Baru, unlike he also has a first class in mechanical engineering from ABU.
Mechanical engineering.
Yes, and unlike Ibe Kachikwu, he's always been directly involved in the thick of things. Ibe Kachikwu, as a lawyer, was an admin person in the oil sector. But this is an explorer. This has been directly involved.
He's a mechanical engineer.
So you will always, within the NNPC, there are people who felt this guy is not an operations person, and they didn't respect him as a result. He's not the only person who has a first class.
Harvard.
Yes. You see, there are bright people in the north who will match some of the people in the south. So in the past, they found it difficult to bring people, but not these days. I'm telling you the truth, not these days. There are people who have multiple.
Yemi, what do you think is playing out between Ibe Kachikwu and this guy?
It is simply a power game. And of course, it is a power game with a motive. Everything has something to do with 2019, just like Jide rightly said. What is happening is a case of somebody who feels at least he has the ears of others who are more powerful than his supervisory boss, doing what he likes. Look, this is a simple managerial issue. If you have a boss who has a report, at least a direct reporting authority, and that you have a relationship with, and you have access to that direct reporting authority too, and you are more connected to that, you can do whatever you like without your immediate boss. There's nothing is going to do.
Ibe Kachikwu is the chairman of NNPC.
In name.
The board.
NNPC board.
Yes.
Baru is the GMD of NNPC.
Yes.
So Baru will prefer to relate with the presidency direct.
The president is also the senior
Now, let
minister.
me tell you. Now, let me tell you. You
NNPC.
see, we have to get something clear.
Petroleum.
Let's clear something here. There is a legal issue involved in this. What does the NNPC Act says in this case? We have a de facto Minister of Petroleum, who is the president, who ordinarily should chair the NNPC board.
Okay.
Who, by virtue of his position, should be the chairman of the NNPC board. But he also has the power to delegate that function to an alternate chairman.
That's Minister of State.
Minister of State, and that is what
is playing out now.
Is playing out now. You see, I don't want to believe that Baru took all the decisions he took on his own. At least, for the sake of argument, let's concede he did not clear with
Kachikwu as a person.
but definitely he cleared with somebody. Who? If not the president, those who have the ears of the president.
Yes.
That's
So
like
that we know. So that shows
and
that
I also gathered that the chief of staff is also a board member.
that is one
A
of
member
even
of
the
NNPC
the chief
board.
of staff is a member is a board member of the NNPC. Is a member of the NNPC board, and you know how influential the chief of staff is in this administration. So what is playing out is a case of power game in which if care is not taken, the ultimate loser may be the minister of state, because the president does not strike me as somebody who is ready to enforce discipline when it comes to such administrative issues like this.
It's not his style.
It is not
We've
his
not
style,
seen it.
especially if it has got something to do with those, quote and unquote, who are very close to him. We've traveled this route before. That we had the case of the Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, with the Ali,
custom DG.
with the custom DG. We had that with Amechi, with Sirika. So it's not something that is new. And what do you have at the end of the day? It dies
Everybody
down.
working in their own territory.
You see, ordinarily in a good system, you don't allow a subordinate to undermine the authority of his supervisor. It is not done. No matter whatever you might say about former President Olusegun Obasanjo, he will not
brew that.
He will not brew that. And it reminds me, at least I was reading Segun Adeni's column last Thursday, or no, one of this, no, not last Thursday, recently. And he was talking about managing your anger. He made reference to why Brigadier General Oluwole Rotimi lost his position, lost his high commissionership to UK. The reason was simple. It was felt that he was undermining the authority of Ojomadeoke, who was his minister. And of course, he wrote a letter in which he expressed some parochial sentiment, made reference to some clannish, he made some clannish statements. And that was circled.
Against the late Ojomadeoke?
Yes, against Ojomadeoke, I think they had a beef. And he said, well, he had dealt with those who are even tougher than him as a soldier during the Biafra War. And when that got to Yaradua, he had no choice than to remove Brigadier General Oluwole Rotimi, and that shouldn't be ordinarily, because the moment the president, unfortunately, is giving much traction to the speculation people have about him before the election, that is insular, is clannish, is this and is that. And for somebody who's supposed to be the father of the nation, no, that's a big minus.
All right, let me quickly take this break. When we come back, we're still on this. It's still Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back after this break. Please stay with us.
To the speculation people have about him before the election, that is insular, is clannish, is this and is that. And for somebody who's supposed to be the father of the nation, no, that's a big minus.
All right, let me quickly take this break. When we come back, we're still on this. It's still Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back after this break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. We are looking at the $24 million scam in NNPC. Babajide, this contract award and everything, Kachikwu actually said did not go through due process. And how possible is it for a minister of state for petroleum not to know about the award of a contract as among us as $24 million?
You know, he's saying that he gets to read about these things in the newspapers, the social media and all that. It's a very shameful and distressing thing that these kind of things are happening. he talked about the board service committee. He reminded the president that the board service committee is supposed to review appointments, even terminations of employees, and that all those appointments, repostings, and the rest that May County made, that the board service committee was not consulted. You do not consult your Minister of State in the award of contracts, in virtually everything. You've just left him to be like a spectator in that ministry. You see, this is a clear superiority complex conflict, because May County will see himself as a big fish in a small pond.
I have the connection.
He has the connection,
academic qualification.
Yes,
and I have the knowledge.
He has seen it all, you know, as
NNPC.
an operations person in the NNPC. So he will tell himself that what does it really matter? You see, outside of government, there are people who are always doing their best to mislead the people in power. When El-Rufai made that statement, and there seems to be some fifth columnists within the Buhari administration, and I'm afraid it's looking like what happened to him in 1985, because fifth columnists in his administration ensured that that coup happened. All the people who should give Buhari support in 1985, the fifth columnists were going after them just so that Buhari would be unpopular in the eyes of the public. They were the people who sent troops to go and ransack Awo's house. They scattered his library and all that. Buhari did not know about it. In the interview with the news magazine, he said he didn't know that they were going there. So, but the people doing this, they know what they are doing. They are leaking. It will now be a big problem and a big risk for anybody to do a personal memo to the president, because there are people within the administration, irresponsible people within the administration, leaking what should be personal correspondence between the president and his ministers.
So it wasn't Kachikwu that leaked this?
No. Just the same way they leaked the memo that the little man of Kaduna sent to the president. They leaked it. And why did they do that? Because they wanted him to look bad before the chief of staff and other people who came to inherit.
And it was just a kind of advice to Mr. President.
Yes, and El-Rufai was forced to now go and apologize to the chief of staff and other people. You know that after that thing happened, El-Rufai went to observe prayers in Aso Rock. It was that opportunity that he now used to talk to those people, because they advised that, look, even if the president chooses not to run in 2019, you are one of the stars who want to inherit his position. And if you quarrel with his boys, that is, you quarrel with Abba Kyari and the rest of them, Mama and Daura, I'm sorry for calling them boys because these are old men, they are going to wait for you. So El-Rufai saw wisdom in that advice. That Friday, that next Friday, he went there.
Somebody that likes power.
To go and pray. If you were in his shoes, you would do the same thing. To go and pray in that place and clear the air that, look, this thing, forget it, it's one of those things and all that. Although he had granted Daily Trust an interview where he said he stood by all that he said. But the thing is, the point that I'm making is there are people within the administration who are leaking these things. May County Baru's actions are deplorable, are unacceptable. It's just similar to what the man in aviation now is doing. Because it's just one ministry, Ministry of Transport. He's supposed to be under Amechi, but they don't talk. They don't talk. They don't see eye to eye. They are not
that
talking
aviation
terms.
minister is meant to, Amechi is meant to be supervising him.
He is the Minister of State. As a Minister of State, you are under the substantive minister. But he continues to, on his own, go and get approvals for his projects and all that directly to the president.
That means it's the president that is encouraging this.
The president's style encourages some of these behaviors. Look, if, for example, someone comes to you, I'm not saying that is what has happened. If someone comes to the president to say, look, Yemi has been harassing me. He keeps coming to me asking for contract. Yemi is supposed to be my boss. But he continues to harass me. He asks me for money. He asks me. The president will say, okay, ignore him. Deal with me. I'm telling you.
Instead of calling, you know.
He doesn't want to hear such things. That, oh, this person is harassing another person for money. If you want his blood to boil, the president that we have, you want his blood to boil, just bring up such issues. But unfortunately, once people have seen that this is his nature,
okay,
in order not to go through due process, they will keep going to the president to say, oh, he's asked me for money for
to blackmail another person,
to hire a jet to take him to so place. He asked me for money for contract for this, for that, and when we are struggling in these lean times, he continues to harass me for money. Once you tell him,
he will give you the matching order.
He will just say, okay,
undermine
so
him.
What you can do as a subordinate is all of those requests, document. This is the trick. Once you document and you let President Buhari have access to this, he will tell you to ignore that person and deal with him.
Even though the person is your supervising minister.
I'm telling you, because I know the president sufficiently now that I can do a 500-page book. Because as a young journalist, I've been following him. I used to visit him. I know him very well. He doesn't want to hear such things. So if you really want to bypass your boss,
your superior,
if you say that repeatedly to the president, he will tell you what to do.
Okay, let me
and
pick
what you do, what you will now do will mean that Oga, that you don't listen to him.
Let me pick my first caller. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Afis.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. Go ahead with your contribution.
Okay. Kudos to you guys.
Thank you, Afis.
Most especially Mr. Babajide Ochitoju.
Thank you, Afis.
You know, I am a fan of Buhari. I actually voted for him during that election. I was even a diehard of Buhari. But the way it is now, I doubt this man is holding. Is he able to hold this government? Mm-hmm. Why is it that a junior minister will not be in good time with the senior guy? Why is it that it is when the people from up there do always respect people from down here? That's my contribution. Thank you,
Yemi. Thank you, Yemi. Abi Afis, Yemi, what we are now seeing now, Jide said something day before yesterday when we were doing our Monday edition, the special Independence edition, that is afraid at the speed that President Muhammadu Buhari takes decision, that President Buhari takes so much time before it takes action on some crucial things. And this is part of the things we're looking at now. If an Ibe Kachikwu can say that close to 1 year he has been sidelined from running of things in NNPC, and this is a lot of other ministries, a lot of other members of his cabinet, they are suffering the same fate. But still, I know the president is recuperating. I think the president is even very okay right now. The speech, the speech and everything, but I think that is just his style. I don't think this is good enough.
Well, I can't agree with you. It's not good enough, but I don't think there's anything new about that. The president may be slow in taking actions in some cases, but it's not slow in taking action in some others. It all depends on what his agenda is. If the action fits into an agenda, he knows what, at least, and it's going to be in his interest, he will take action quickly. If it doesn't fit into his agenda, he won't bother. I'll give you just two contrary examples. When he came back from London, he made a national broadcast. And I can tell you, personally, I think the national broadcast was needless anyway. But the major issue there was to address the separatist group agitations.
And the alacrity in which he has pursued
that. It was because he had an agenda. I'm not going to allow this dismemberment of Nigeria under my watch.
Which is crucial anyway.
Which is
Jamin. After this break, Diezani requests to face trial in Nigeria. Stay with us if you want to hear more. Well, if you're just joining us, you're just about right on time for the second half of Journalist Hangout. We're reaching you live from Television Continental here in Lagos and Nigeria. Diezani Alison Madueke is more popular in Nigeria today for corruption. You know, the cases dangling around her neck than her service to the country as a former Minister of Petroleum. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, accuses her of sharing about 35 billion naira to individuals. 35 billion naira, just note that, to individuals in 36 states. That is ahead of the 2015 general elections. In one of the cases, the EFCC claims that she gave 450 million to a senior advocate of Nigeria, Dele Bagore, and a former National Planning Minister, Abubakar Suleiman, and declares her at large. But Diezani has rejected the claim. She is asking the federal government to issue an order that will mandate her to appear in courts in the next adjourned dates to defend herself. Why ask for an order to mandate you to defend yourself if you are willing to do just that? Is Diezani trying to escape a trial in the United Kingdom? Is the request another generous offering from a generous woman? Babajide, I think tactically, Diezani is doing the right thing, because you know immediately if the EFCC accede to that request and if they write to the UK authority and those ones, if they leave Diezani off the hook and she gets to Nigeria, she will be armed with all the senior advocates of Nigeria, and there are all manners in which they use to frustrate and knock out corruption cases in Nigeria, and it might not see the light of day. Presently, the UK government, they're investigating her.
Yes.
The United States governments, they've been gathering intel about her even like 6-7 years ago. So they too, they are putting everything together, working with the UK government. And Nigerians are sure that when this trial starts, by the time the trial gets to her, it will be another case of James Onanife Ibori, that before they got to Ibori himself, Ibori was already... But this attempt to come to Nigeria, what do you make of it?
You see, I'm particularly amused by a request that the court should mandate the Attorney General of the Federation to bring her to Nigeria.
Let me come and defend my name.
You left Nigeria voluntarily. Why should it be difficult for you to come back home voluntarily? Perhaps she thinks that they will not, the British government will not let her leave.
She knows. I think her passport is under custody.
Yes, so maybe that's why she has come up with that gambit. But I can tell you that if Diezani comes to Nigeria, it is easier to jail her over there than here. Here, she may even win the case.
That's true.
Look at what happened on September 21. The court struck out a charge against her because the EFCC came up with a case. They charged her along with other people, but they didn't list her among the defendants. And there have been cases, so many of the cases that you are seeing linked, there's also amount of money linked to Diezani, there's also humongous money here linked to Diezani. There are only 1 or 2 of those cases in which she's been charged with other people. I think just 1 or 2. So you hear of big sums of money linked, but in cases filed, it's only in 1 or 2 of those numerous cases that she's been charged along with other people.
Why?
Because they are finding it difficult to get cast iron evidence.
That's why those monies in banks, you just see $140 million, she will disclaim it. I don't know about it.
If you read some of what Diezani has said about this case, and you are a thinking person, you can give up that she's going to win.
So let them prove it.
You can give up. You see, because the court is never generous. The court will wait on you to prove that indeed these sums are products of money laundering before the court will give judgment against you. And she's even saying that some of those buildings, some of the monies they are talking about, do not belong to her. You see, where, for example, you say Diezani court has said Diezani should forfeit so amount of money. Diezani will say, how can I forfeit what does not belong to me? Honestly, just go and read what
like 2-3 occasions, that's it.
You say, how can I? Don't even. If you are saying that I took the money from NNPC, from which account did I take it from NNPC, this and that? So looking at the record of the EFCC, I'm not excited. I'm following Danjuma Goje's case, for example, and I've seen 2 principal witnesses come to court in Jos to say, look, Danjuma Goje actually instituted transparency in Gombe. People who are supposed to give evidence,
witness, yes,
who are supposed to give evidence to nail him, they are the ones now saying, no, he actually, they
change their tune.
So how do you jail that? How do you jail that kind of person? The EFCC has now had to go and shop for more witnesses. They are bringing more witnesses. But the thing is, that case is potentially defective because the principal witnesses have come out to even give evidence in favor of the accused person. So in Nigeria, it pays us to let the woman stay there. Once the Britons are satisfied that they've thoroughly investigated her, they will prepare her file and take her before a court.
Spend money.
For now, for about 2 years, they've been on it. They've not come up with anything concrete.
They're still digging.
To bring Diezani to trial. Once they are through, they will take their time because they don't do investigation like us. Who will arrest people. After we've arrested them, we will start investigating. We'll be looking for evidence. They will do a thorough job. Once that thorough job is done, even Diezani will know clearly that she can't escape. You saw what happened with the man from Delta. Even his girlfriends, his wife, were jailed. His lawyer, they jailed because they got cast iron evidence against him, and the people who assisted him in looting. So it pays for the Attorney General of the Federation to just stand by and watch. Maybe after those people succeed in jailing her, we can now go and bring her, you know. After she has served her time there, we can bring her, and then on the same...
if it's not going to be double jeopardy.
No, you can so there are some peculiar infractions committed in our land.
It depends on political will.
Peculiar infractions committed that can cause us to now charge her. So there is, and it's not a new thing.
Okay, Yemi, what do you make of this? Because when we are talking about in terms of corruption in that last administration, yes, no court in Nigeria might have convicted Diezani, but she's one of the leading lights when it comes to the mention of humongous amounts. This is the same one that EFCC is saying that they have a property in Banana Island, $38 million. And I was, I couldn't fathom $38 million for a property. What is inside that property?
Well, I think if you have to go by what EFCC is saying, Diezani remains the biggest kleptomaniac in Nigerian history so far.
Ahead
of
Abacha.
General Abacha.
No, because
all the monies, let me tell you, all the monies that they are talking about, that they are linking Diezani with, is not up to $1 billion. Go and check. Abacha, $4 billion, we opted to let the family take $2 billion. Sure. And after that, we took another $2 billion. And after that, we've been recovering even more.
Since that time.
So there's no way.
No
comparison.
Why I said that? The Abacha era it's more or less like a kind, because it was
but it's part of our history.
Of course, it's part of our history, I quite agree. But for somebody who's not the head of state,
I just played.
Yes.
I played safe by saying she's the leading light in the last administration.
So is it? But you see, I'm sure the woman is smart, and she knows what she's doing. She knows that it's easier for her to escape justice if she comes to Nigeria than if she stays in the UK. So, and that is why she's asking that she should be extradited. For now, she can't on her own leave UK for Nigeria.
Yes.
Because she's under interdiction. So she can't leave. And except the federal government request for her extradition, there is no way we can get her. But I don't think it will be in the interest of justice for the federal government to do so now, because we have a shambolic judicial system in this country, that the rich can escape justice and get away with blue murder anytime. If she comes to Nigeria, just be rest assured that we will still be on this case even when she's 80 years old.
Stalling adjournment and
because there will be
there is time frame now.
Yes, lawyers will start.
Even with the
even
creation,
the Saraki matter that has time frame.
Yeah,
they took it to Supreme Court.
Even with the creation of a special anti-corruption court by the Chief Justice, it is not going to make much difference in some cases. It depends on how powerful and how influential the culprit is. And that is why she's at least throwing us that bait. If we bite, I'm sorry, we can't get justice.
All right, when we come back, the Nigerian police suffer from one of the biggest and shameful diseases in the world. Please stay with us. Welcome back. The Nigerian police suffer from one of the biggest and shameful diseases in the world. The disease has eaten so deep into their officers that they have a huge reputation for extorting money from people. That's the disease. The same disease explains why some policemen are worse than the criminals they arrest. Nigerians have seen them heavily drunk and turn their guns on innocent people. Families, friends of those who have been murdered can tell how irresponsible some officers are. On Wednesday, a Lagos court acquitted 5 innocent persons who were standing trial for murder. The court says the office of the Inspector General of Police deceitfully charged them after criminally substituting the real suspects. Just how do we sanitize this police? Jide, this thing, immediately I read it and I was like, the governor of Rivers State is some wicked. And if a governor is talking, apart from some governors that people might not take serious, he's saying that, look, the major crimes in his own states have been committed by
especially kidnapping.
Yes, by members of the Nigerian police. And people are not taking this too serious. But when you begin to see stories like this, we have police friends all around, even all around Lagos. We have officers and friends that are policemen. But we cannot afford to just overlook things like this, stories as despicable as this.
Yeah, because just ask yourself, how can people in good conscience behave in this manner? It's murder that we are talking about. Oh. You go and bring innocent people. The people committed the act. You allow them to go. Most likely because they were bribed. You allow them to go and brought innocent people. Now, if these guys had gone to the trial, because it's still police that will prosecute, you frame them up,
they will look for
you
evidence,
come up with phantom this thing against them. and then cause them to be sentenced.
Miscarriage of justice.
If the punishment for murder in Nigeria still remains death, you want to kill innocent people. Innocent people. The people who are guilty, who committed the crime, you let them go. You brought innocent people. I've been told that even in SARS, they do it. That if you can pay hefty bribe, sometimes robbery suspects will be allowed to go, then they will bring other people to replace those people. You know, this thing is not new. Remember former AIG, Olarewaju, in I think around 1999. This was what happened. The police paraded people who were accused of killing Ikazubo. At that time, Group Captain Ikazubo. The boy had been in the cell long before
Ikazubo was killed.
Yes, they went round, raided Lagos, and they picked him up. The boy, you know, he was the son of an estranged wife of AIG Olarewaju, bore him that child. So the boy himself was behaving recklessly. They will find him in places where they are not supposed to find the son of a top police officer. So being a regular suspect, they plugged him and paraded him along with other people and accused him of being one of the killers of Ikazubo. So the dad raised an alarm. The dad raised an alarm that, look, my son was not involved. This is a frame-up. And the dad was still in the force. So when this thing happened, after he now left the police, he now granted PM News an extensive interview, 2 full pages, where he was talking about the rot in the police, how occasionally people will be brought, innocent people will be framed by the police.
That's because
and
it's an
paraded,
insider. How much more
paraded
people
as criminals. So this is what we have seen now with this case. God bless that judge wherever he is, that he has saved the lives of these innocent people. There are many people who have been locked up in police cells,
Kirikiri maximum prison, Ikoyi prison,
who committed no offense. Some of them will be tortured to death. And when Amnesty International comes up with all of this, their report, we say, oh, they are liars, they are this, they are that. The same way the army too misbehaves sometimes. You remember this the soldier who was beating up a woman because the woman lied to him that he was pregnant for him. You know, these are images that put our security forces to shame. And when foreigners see these things and they complain, we say, oh, it's because they hate Nigeria. Oh, they don't like the fact that we are winning the war on insurgency. We deceive ourselves. Because all these things do not dignify the police in any way. I heard the Lagos Police Commissioner saying the Nigerian police is the best in the world. I don't know where they got that from. That this police is better than the American police, better than the Metropolitan Police in the UK. Where did you get that from? I mean, if we want to deodorize ourselves, make ourselves smell nice, there should be a limit to it. Not a police that is doing all of these things. They will say, oh, they hate us. Oh, they like. When you praise them for genuine acts of valor, genuine acts of patriotism, they will not admit it. But they want you to keep quiet when you are seeing videos of policemen drunk and misbehaving in the open.
Shooting the wrong people. Jamie?
Yeah.
What do you make of this particular case?
No, this is a very sad case. And you see, what is even more saddening about it is the caliber of people involved. The suspects were arrested in Lagos, but later on they said a team from Abuja headed by a DIG. So it was a DIG team that freed the real suspect and came up with the phantom suspect.
DIG.
And you can imagine if somebody at that top level,
a potential IG,
get
to that rank, just
could be involved in such a scandal. That gives you an idea the kind of police force we are dealing with in this country. Because it is, I can't just imagine it that anybody will sit down. How much are they going to give you?
They don't
Is it about money? Is it about justice?
They don't reason like that.
Because the thing is, when I was reading the story, I was just angry. That for God's sake, why can we have this kind of situation in this 21st century? We still have this kind of situation in the Nigerian police force. Of course, we can still cope with the petty 20 naira bribe taking on the road and stuff like that. But when we have a persistent case like this, it means that is just the Nigerian police force has become irredeemable.
Jide, another worrisome case of trend is that they even say they identify you, that say if you're a Yahoo boy, you take them to ATM. You take them to ATM. They will make sure at gunpoint that you withdraw what you have on the ATM.
Yes, I've had.
That is not. That's
common. It's common. There is a boy in my area that they did that to, because the Yahoo boys in my area think they are smart. So once they go, to unwind, pick women in their regular watering holes. They will not leave any cash in their pocket, because they know that on their way home, policemen will stop them and demand for bribe. So what those guys now do is they will leave no cash, but usually their ATMs are with them. The ATM cards are with them. So the police say, okay, no problem. I know a staff of this place, this our company, that the police led to a cash point. Yes, he works in radio here. They led him there. They said, why are you walking around at this time of the night? Okay, we'll help you. So the guy they have
ID card. Okay.
They said, okay, take us to an ATM machine. He went there, withdrew some money, gave to them. They now escorted him to the gate
of his house.
After extorting him. After extorting money from him.
Is it not better if they are going about with POS?
Let me quickly pick this last caller. Hello, thank you for joining us.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Promise from UK.
Okay, Promise, go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah. Just want to say thanks to you guys. You guys are really doing a great job. It's a program I don't want to miss. If I prefer running late than not watching this program.
Thank you, Promise.
Police are, in fact, sometimes they are even terrible than armed robbers. Let me tell you an incident. A friend of mine came to Nigeria for a holiday for 1 month. On his way to Benin, he was stopped by the police along Edo Benin Road. And they asked him about the paper. He showed them everything, all the document, everything was complete. And he said he needs to settle them, that they could see that he's from. And they said, why would I have to bribe you? Everything you said is okay. Why do I have to bribe you? Along that line, he led to an argument, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, take me to police station. They took this guy to police station, got into police station, because the guy was, he's got lawyers, some friends that are lawyers. He called them, and they all came down. So when the police people saw the level of people coming down, do you know what they did to this guy? They went and brought a power cable. That is what they found this guy stealing. So they have to start looking for a way to bury that, to avoid this a serious issue. Because it's your word against them.
Yes.
They roped him.
So this guy was meant to spend 1 month. Immediately he bought a return ticket. So then this guy does not want to hear about Nigeria anymore.
Oh man, Promise, we have to go. Thank you for calling all the way from United Kingdom. Babajide, your last word on this.
I mean, I'm just perplexed. So I've had this, that you just suddenly, because he didn't give you money.
Just look for manufactured evidence.
I think the IG has said that he's dismantling roadblocks. But his boys are refusing to dismantle roadblocks.
I don't know.
The IG has said bail is free. Our police are saying no, bail is not free. So they do not even respect the IG. They do not respect the directives of the IG.
The IG cannot be saying it's dismantling roadblocks when there are roadblocks right in front of police stations across the country. At least I still saw one yesterday around Ifakoja, a local government where police are collecting money from Okada riders and stuff like that.
Thank you, Yemi.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yemi Ajayi. Thank you. Babajide Kolade Utitoju, and that's our offering today on Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. You can watch the repeat tonight. That's at 11 on all our platforms. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Ozuba. See you on Friday.